promised, Adrian from Fredsters, featuring Adrian's Bar and Grill. You're the Adrian, obviously, behind that. This is the first time, I said it when we started, that we had a club owner here. And I'm thrilled and I'm terrified because there's debates as recently as yesterday I saw one that I think there's a disconnect to some degree. I watch what some of these bands say, even my own band, right? Where it's like, well, this is what we think, and there's a disconnect between, okay, but that isn't how the club side actually works, right? Like, you're running a business the way we're running a business, and so I've been very anxious to get a club owner on here and just get the other side of the coin, right? So before we even talk about Fredsters, which you know is one of my favorite places already, so I'm biased. You ran Dexter's forever in Winter Park.
That's very true.
How many years were you there?
Oh my gosh, we started that in 1988, and it was on Fairbanks Avenue, and Dexter had moved around the corner. He had the last spot next to the 7-Eleven, and he had this little store, and folks would come in, and it was a retail wine store, and they would say, we're going to put a case of wine together. I'm going to do this in my lunch hour. Why don't you make some sandwiches or some cheese and pate so we can have something to eat while we're putting the case together? And this is, of course, back in the early 80s.
Sure.
So he did that. He brought a case in, and him and his staff, they were just making very simple sandwiches and some pate and cheese selections. And again, people would sit around on wine boxes as they're putting their case together. They're grabbing it and, oh, I've got to get one out of here. Okay, fine. And have their lunch and then take their case of wine away. And he said at that point that he wanted to get a bigger store and he wanted to have a proper chef. And he started talking to me, and we had some negotiations and some arrangements. And then we moved it from there right around the corner to next to in front of Rowan's College. There was a convenience store there, and I think it was called Mr. Grocer.
Okay.
And they had a wall of glass doors where they had all of their beers and wines and everything that they displayed. Well, we used that as the walk-in, but we faced all those glass doors with the beer and the wine and everything. And the bands would just play in front of that with the lights on it. And we had, if you walked in the front door, you would turn left, that would be the retail wine department. You would turn right, and there was a bar with tables and chairs all the way around the outside. Lots of light coming into the building. It was a very comfortable spot. But on the nights that we would do music, we would take all the wines off of the racks and stick them up underneath the things, and we took boards that we covered with foam and naugahyde, and we put them down on top, and that would be the table. And everybody would sit around on wine boxes eating pate, cheese, and tapas, and wine and everything, and just watching.
And they loved it.
And it was great. We had some unbelievable pedigree musicians out of Rollins College, Chuck Archer, to name a few. Dan Gottlieb
you mentioned him, yeah.
Was there with us that night. My God, him and his wife. You should hear the wall of percussive sound that those two can put together. Unbelievable. I mean, everybody was going, it was just so professional and so spot on.
And by the time I got to see Dexter's, you were on the corner there, and you really were a live music venue at that point. Right? Like every single weekend, there was at least 2 nights, sometimes 3.
Yes.
What was the strategy behind booking the bands at Dexter's? Was it strictly a money equation? Like, if X band made X amount of money, then I'm booking them?
We became a pretty popular place.
You did.
Because of the food, but a lot of and one of the reasons that concept became so successful is that we did take the time to listen to our customer base. And if it was something that we could do, we did it. And that sported them to come to see us on a regular basis. And, it got to the point where my customer base, most guys for the business people will come 2 and 3, 4 times a week for lunch. And then they bring their family out on the music nights and enjoy the entertainment too. There was no dance floor, which we would hear about all the time.
Right.
Excuse me. But you look over in the restaurant, people are up from their tables and they're dancing.
That's
they're doing it right in place. So it was kind of a warm and friendly party, and everybody kind of knew each other too.
Now, when that place closed, did you know it was closing? Like, it seemed like it was kind of all of a sudden, like, they're out.
You're talking about the
Dexter's
on Pennsylvania?
The last location.
Yeah. No, Dex got sick.
Oh, I see.
He had a bleeding on the back of his brain, unfortunately. The first one was relatively mild, and he could move ahead with us and everything. poor Dex, we gave him all the crappy jobs. I mean, taxes, insurances.
Right, sure. Running the thing.
Payroll.
Yeah.
I mean, city. I mean, he had all the rotten jobs. I had all the fun jobs.
Right, and you know that now he's laughing because you have all those jobs.
Yeah, probably.
Because you have Fredsters now.
Well, the problem was is that he had a second bleeding on the brain, which
I see.
unfortunately left him a little bit incoherent.
Mm-hmm.
He used to love to read,
Mm-hmm.
and he would like disappear one afternoon and just go read a book or whatever. And he can still read, but now he tells me he just cannot comprehend what he's reading.
Right.
And if you have a conversation with him, it's not. He has long-term memories. He has no more short-term.
Short-term memory, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And he can't live alone. He can't drive. He can't drink anymore.
Yes, obviously you're not going to run a venue.
He's with his family up in Michigan.
Well, and that obviously led to, so you were out of the scene for a while. Because how long was the gap between Fredsters and Dexters?
3 years.
3 years, okay.
We decided to sell all 4 locations to 4 different operators. 3 of the operators thought that they would know better than us, and subsequently those 3 locations ended up closing.
Right.
There's Lake Mary is still going strong, and that's
Mhm.
because the guy was smart enough not to change anything, and he's doing a great job up there, and he's doing great business up there.
Yeah, we play there a lot. We really
Yeah.
like John and the staff there. And
Yeah.
it's a cool place.
John Huffine, he's a good operator.
That's right. So now, okay, so you decide you're going to open what wasn't originally called Fredsters, right? But you decide you're opening this restaurant. So what was the thought there? What were you trying to build when you opened it?
Well, I was thinking about retiring.
Okay.
And I'm pretty good at most things I put my mind to, but I sucked at retiring.
I would imagine.
Awful.
Yeah.
So Fred would work for me with Soul Function. I had his band over there, an 11-piece band he had, and he would play with us. And he would come to me and he would say, listen, come on, why don't we do something together? And I said, I'm not so sure. And I hummed and I hawed and I whiffled and I waffled and
Mm-hmm.
I procrastinated and everything. And then I found this location in Maitland, where Fredsters is now.
Mm-hmm.
It was 3 different businesses.
Right.
It's a
Right.
6,300 square foot building. At first I turned my nose up at it because it wasn't very centrally located, and
Mhm.
there was a lot of offices around it, and it wasn't really sort of my demography that I was really good at serving.
Mm-hmm.
I showed it to Fred, and he went bananas. He says, oh, we got to do it. We got to do it. Come on, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. How much money you got? I got this amount. Let's go do it. He talked me into it. We did it.
Okay.
We scraped the entire interior of the building, all new
Mhm.
plumbing, all new electrical,
Yep.
HVAC, mechanical.
Well, you'd have to because you took the units apart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where my kitchens are right now used to be another little restaurant called the Silly Philly.
Okay.
The chap that owned the Silly Grape at the other end of the building
Uh-huh.
had, I think it was a pizzeria, I can't remember the name of it, it was a pizzeria. He took it and he was grilling cheesesteaks for all of the offices around there, and he was doing quite good business with it. And then he had the Silly Grape at the other end with the patio. And then he built this, there was a chiropractor in the middle and an old Japanese little place. And he took that and he put this very austere dining room in with like furniture from the 80s,
Sure, yeah.
and he planned on doing wine dinners and stuff like that, but I think he kind of lost a little bit of interest in it. He got into flipping houses where he was making a lot of money.
A lot of it,
And
sure.
at that point he turned around and said, well, I want to sell it. So it came up on the market, on the block. Fred said, come on, let's do it, let's take it, let's do this. I want to have a big music venue, I want to have a great restaurant, and let's do it together.
Okay.
So he took me into it, so that's what we did. Rome wasn't built in a day. I said that to Fred one day, and he goes, no, it was built in 2 years and 3 months. That's how long it took us, okay?
I believe that. Well, that was a pretty major renovation.
And a lot of money, too.
And it looked like, so what's cool about it is I've been describing it as Dexter's and Post Time on steroids, right? Like
Everybody describes it like that.
Yeah, the stage is huge.
It's 2.5 feet tall.
Right, and after seeing Soul Function, it had to be huge,
Yeah.
right? There's like 15 of those guys.
Fred's the music man. I got to tell you, I got to take my hat off to him. He's put a 14,500 watt PA in there.
Oh,
so
it's crazy.
The bands don't have to hump that around.
Yeah.
He's got 10 monitors. A lot of the bands got inner ears now, so we don't
Yeah.
use a lot of those. But the ones that don't have it love it and appreciate it. They don't have to hump them around either.
Right.
Of course, he's got, well, not as many drum kits as you, but he's got
He's got quite a collection
he's got
going.
quite a few drum kits in there, so the drummer doesn't have to hump his drums around.
Mm-hmm.
So the bands have really been enjoying playing there because almost, I mean, they've got their own instruments. There's a whole back line, there's a baby grand, there's a Hammond B3 organ with a turning Leslie speaker. They bring their instruments. We have a backline, bass amps, guitar amps, and all the keyboard amps. And anything they're welcome to use it. Some of them do, some of them don't. They want their own sound.
Sure.
Fair enough.
Sure.
So, but they enjoy playing there because it's very close to being plug and play.
It is, and it's a nice big stage.
Yeah,
you
big
fit.
stage.
You're comfortable, and there's a nice dance floor.
Yeah, big dance floor.
And there's 2 big bars.
Yeah.
And then you've got your main dining area, and in the back you've got this like couch area.
We call it comfy couch corner.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. There is a bass drum
lounge.
just sitting there, by the way. I don't know what the point of that is.
There's a bass drum sitting there with a piece of wood on it, and it's got a light fixture on top of it that emanates a little bit of light off.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it. And then outside you've got the patio. So the
That's
model
covered.
Right, and the model there is basically, demure, good food restaurant during the day.
Yeah.
A good solid dinner menu, actually a really good dinner menu. You've given me enough sandwiches there. I feel like you should, declare me on your taxes. Really good dinner menu. And then at night, it kind of transforms itself into a venue.
Yes.
Right? And so you've had a lot of different bands in there.
Right.
Right? So challenge number 1 is I know you guys have the PA, and you like the bands to use that. For our band, that became a challenge just because you have different sound guys every night. And the night we had, the guy didn't what he was doing on our night.
Right.
Overall, do you think the bands are enjoying just come in and use our PA and do our thing? Or do you think it's, what's your feel there?
I think there's 3 things to talk about there. I think they're nervous about not having their equipment there because they're worried about their sound. Quite rightly so.
Makes sense.
But after they've done a gig there, they're sitting around at the bar having a beer afterwards going, that was great. And I didn't even break a sweat getting set up. Mm-hmm. And they're now finding ways around their misgivings, and they're adopting what it is we're trying to put out there. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is that we wanted to have a dance floor because there's not a lot of dancing going on around town anymore.
Those venues are gone.
Yeah.
There's really not, people dance at Murano's.
Right.
It's not really a dance venue. It has an area there that you can dance. Post Time's really gone more away from dance. They've got great bands. They have Torn and Barfly, but they're not dance bands really. Right. You're kind of the only game in town for that.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to hear because we want people dancing. And then the third thing is you can go out to even some of the professional places like Universal Studios or House of Blues and you can see great entertainment, but as a chef, the food is not edible. It's all out of a frozen box and deep fried or whatever. I wanted to have a place where all 3 things were satisfied. Great music, the ability to dance, and the ability to have great cocktails and great beverages and food.
And I would imagine the number 1 challenge is that, well, number 1, you're new, right, over there. Right. And number 2 is a lot of people probably still don't know about it.
A lot of people still don't know.
I talk about it on the band crawl, and I think the bands know about it, but I don't know how many people know about it.
Right.
So that's probably, I'd imagine, the number 1 struggle.
It is. It is the number 1 struggle. I imagined that by this time, when we're like 4 months into it, that my lunch business would be established, but it's not yet. Mm-hmm. The needle is moving in the right direction, but it's moving painfully slowly.
Well, you opened in April.
We opened in April.
In April, right? So we're talking 4 or 5 months?
Yeah.
Okay. And you opened there really wasn't any fanfare behind that, right? It was kind of like, we're open, and there's some social media, but there wasn't a big...
I wanted to do a soft opening because, as I said before, it's a big place.
Yeah.
I've got all my guys in the kitchen that have worked for me for years and years in a new kitchen with a brand new menu, and I just wanted to open softly. I didn't want to do an onslaught because I didn't want people coming in and not being able to, having a half an hour ticket time or a 1 hour ticket time or whatever. I didn't want to do that. Mm-hmm. I wanted to make sure that I could get my food and beverages out properly and get it all taken care of before the band start, before dinner hour elapses, like at 8 o'clock, 8:30.
Yeah.
So that everybody can now have a cocktail and do some. So it's drinks, dancing, and dining.
Right. And so now that it's been the 4 months or so, 5 months or so, You feel you have that under control? Like, are you
Well,
feeling
yeah,
good about it? Or
Yeah, I feel really great about the music nights because it's an onslaught. And especially like with your band, when your band came there, you brought a lot of people there, and you hit at 8. They started coming in 5:30, 6 o'clock, which gave us like 2.5 hours to service everybody, so that we could, the service could hear what people wanted to order at the table or wanted to get their drinks. We could move around. There was nothing getting involved with their food and beverage service. Then, Big Night Mayhem comes on at 8 o'clock and hits. You're yakking on the microphone, cracking jokes and beating on the drums and everything.
We do yak a lot, yes.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. But it was wonderful to watch everything that Fred and I had designed, that W configurated bar, the eating emporium there in front of the stage, the dance floor in front of the stage. And it's just wonderful to watch when the band hits. They don't do it like maybe the first song or the second song.
Right.
But as soon as something comes up 120 BPM, there's a massive...
Yeah, they like to dance.
The dining room gets empty, and there's thousands of people on the dance floor, shoulder to shoulder, dancing.
We like that
and
too.
I'm looking at this going, well, that's exactly what we wanted to have happen.
Yeah, and you've had a really big variety of bands there,
Yes.
right? So Soul Function is kind of dance and rhythm and blues, and they pack the floor.
Oh, yeah.
We're a dance band.
Yeah.
You've had Barfly, which is a phenomenal band.
Yeah.
They're not a dance band, but they're a phenomenal band with a good following, and you can listen to them all night long.
They did a great job.
You've really tried a bunch, and I guess part of the strategy there is to just keep exposing yourself to every audience.
Well, and again, that is going to help us, widen exponentially our customer base. When we were doing the band crawl just now, you told me about Hayfire.
Yes.
We don't have the country music really established yet.
Mm-hmm.
And this band sounds like they're more country rock if I'm not.
Yeah, and they're definitely country, but they're like a country rock.
And you told me that they're polished and they put on a great show.
Yeah, they're, like I said, I wasn't kidding. I think they are the most professional band we have out.
Well, now I want to talk to them.
Yeah, you would thank me for that when you were done. They are really good. And
Okay.
Alex Hayes, locally, Alex Hayes band, he's also fantastic in that country rock genre there too. There's a number of good acts for that if you decide it's a good, good thing for your venue. I'm sure Hayfire can refer you to other people. I know a couple of other people, but you could easily put something together for that.
Sure.
And the more different crowds you have, now you're exposed to this crowd, and you're exposed to this crowd, and you're exposed to this crowd.
We're looking for more like a little more country rock.
Mhm.
Not I've lost my house, I've lost my wife, I've lost my
No, there's
girlfriend,
none
I've
of
lost my dog.
No, there's none of that. They actually played, I'm sure there were some good, solid, traditional country songs in there, but the ones I remember were like the Shania Twain, Feels Like a Woman, Feel Like a Woman. There's a bunch of these, like more modern country, I consider it country rock. I think you'll like them hands down.
Well, you wet my whistle. I'm going to go off.
And for you, I would think that there's a math formula to this, right? Like, I know that when we played Dexter's, not only yours, but in Lake Mary, there was a formula, right? John would tell me straight out, we're paying you guys this. This is what a good night for us looks like. This is how much money we need to bring in the bar. And I always like knowing that because I can gauge that as I play. If we're playing and nobody's dancing, but everybody's eating, I'm okay with that because the bar is making money on the food and they're not ready to get up and dance yet.
Sure.
And so we base a lot of what we do on what we're seeing the crowd do because we know the number to hit. Is that something that, do you guys have a formula for that? Like, do you have the band needs to be 3x what we're, like, is there a number?
Yes. Again, but we're not adhering to that formula yet because we're just getting started, and it would put a heck of a lot of pressure on the bands.
Sure.
And I don't want to blow anybody out the door. I want to be able down the road to be able to book who I want to book and know that I can pay them accordingly. And I think that's very, very important. And as we get our customer base together, we will be able to do a lot better when it comes to fees and band costs.
And part of the stuff you're doing, so your music nights are great. They're profitable nights for you. The bands are bringing people in. I've been there. I've seen probably 8 or 9 bands over there now, and it always looks like it works out really well. So now you're starting this. I've been calling it Fredsters Gives Back or Fredsters Cares. You're starting to do these charity events.
Sure.
Right? To A, do something with the community, and B, that's another crowd that you can expose the venue to.
Exactly.
So the first one you're doing is Rock to Stop Suicide.
Right.
August 21st.
21st.
Tim and Ellen.
Tim and Ellen.
Right? Okay, so you've got a whole bunch of bands lined up. I know, I'm not even going to remember anyone, but Sam is doing the national anthem. and kicking things off. And he is on guitar. That guy is a monster.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've gotten to check him out or not, but yeah, wow.
There's Papa Willie's going to be there, I believe.
Well, yeah, and he's playing with them now. Papa Wheelie's there. Voodoo Moonshine is headlining, and that's Pedro, the singer from Rocket Fly. That's his original band. And I want to say the drummer is Eddie Cruz from Nova Rex.
Okay.
And Nova Rex was a big deal 80s hair band. They actually just had a documentary come out about them that was shown in the theater.
Okay.
They did a big grand opening thing. Kenny Wilkerson runs that band on bass guitar. But I know Eddie's in there and Pedro's in there. And so you've got Sam, you've got Papa Wheelie. I know Dave Lauber is doing acoustic outside.
There's 3 or 4 acoustics actually going to be outside on the patio.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a great day.
Yeah.
It sounds like, and again, that's another crowd. I'm actually going to that because I'm bringing the Mystery Machine. Because there's a Gene Simmons impersonator coming, Tony the Rock, and then there's I don't know, I think he calls himself Rockin' Bret Michaels, but there's a guy I haven't met yet who is a Bret Michaels from Poison impersonator. And so you're going to be able to get pictures for a donation with the car, with them, with whatever you want to do.
I've seen I've worked with the Kiss chap.
Tony. Yeah.
He's a
He's a big guy.
He's a mountain of a man.
He's a big guy without it.
Yeah.
He's a big guy without it.
Yeah, he's formidable looking in his costume.
So is this something we're gonna? You think on a monthly basis, like last Sunday, third Sunday, whatever, you guys are gonna focus on putting on some kind of an event, whether it's a, military or schools or what?
I've always been, I've always tried to embed ourselves into the community that we're doing business in. Before, like Dexter's locations, we did all of that. We did fundraisers. If somebody in the music business wasn't well, we'd do a fundraiser to provide medical bills and stuff for the family, to, auctions and stuff. Yeah, we've always done stuff like that. I put on, I used to close the street off, go to the city, get all my permits and everything. We used to put bands on the streets. We had Rocket Fly out there. I think the favorite one that I did was I had a group of doctors that were in a band.
Okay.
And I also had a group of lawyers that had another band.
I can see where this is going.
So we put on the battle of the bands, the doctors against the lawyers. And it was a huge night. It was a huge afternoon and evening, and everybody had a great time. And the doctors played a set, the lawyers played a set, and we had some city officials from and Dan Bellows and some real estate people on the balcony above Shea Vincent there, adjudicating and looking and seeing
who won.
Who
do you remember?
Win. The doctors won.
I would have rooted for the lawyers. Very cool. And so,
the lawyers appealed. They appealed.
I'm sure they did.
They did.
So is the Dexter's Winter Park crowd starting to migrate over to Fredsters? Are you seeing that come across? Do they still not know about it?
I remember driving to that location for the first time after driving to my Winter Park store, my downtown store, for several decades, a couple of decades at least. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know Winter Park anymore. And I'm feeling a little strange. It's like, do I want to do this? I felt like a fish out of
It's
water.
a big change.
It is. And I think a lot of people are feeling like that now, and they're walking in, and they're coming in, and they're hugging on me, and kissing on me, and it's lovely to see everybody again. But yeah, they're slowly and steadily coming. Eva came in for lunch today, so yeah, they're coming, but they're not. And some of the ones that come are so stuck in their ways.
Right. It's a transition.
They only came to see what I'm doing, and they're not going to be coming there on a regular basis to make that.
Oh, because it's different.
Out of Winter Park.
Because it's different.
No,
Well,
because
yeah.
it's out of Winter Park.
It's not that far.
It's not.
It's not that far. I mean, if you get off I-4 at Maitland, it's right there.
If you get on I-4 at Fairbanks or on Altamont Springs, you will be at my new location at Fredsters in 6 minutes.
Yeah, from here, so I'm in Longwood, right off Lake Mary Boulevard. It only takes me, 20 minutes to get to your door.
Take exit 90B and then follow the road to Keller.
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
It empties you out right by the RDB.
That is awesome. Well, I would say, right, having nothing to do with it and putting my nose where it doesn't belong because I run a marketing firm, it's time for a grand opening. It's time for some big media coverage, 5 bands, all day, massive, come check out Fredsters.
So we can talk about that, but I think we're going to do that a little bit closer to the fall.
Okay, what's the fall for you?
October.
Okay. Maybe a big Halloween related.
Yeah, September's not. I mean, I'm just judging by what happened with us at Dexter's. I've got a history of like 28 years of history there. Come October, it starts to ramp up again, and that's when I would start to ramp up the entertainment. And
I'm excited to see what comes out of it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
And when are you? Because obviously it's a lot of bands that watch this. So when are you going to start booking next year?
Now.
Now,
Morgan and I were talking about it in the car on the way over here, and I said that when I was booking the bands over for Dexter's and Thorn Park and whatnot, I started in August, and it probably took me close to the end of the year to get the following year full.
Okay, and right now, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, that was the bands that I wanted, and the bands that knew me, the bands that had a crowd, the bands that I knew that were going to pull a crowd so that I could pay for them and also make a little bit of money. Sure,
and this year you did, so you're doing Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
right.
And you've done one-nighters the whole time.
Yeah.
The larger bands, the Skin Deeps, the Hayfires, the Crash Rockets, you're going to start bringing in bands for a weekend, or you think you're going to stick to the one night? I think you always did one night at Dexter's Winter Park.
I always did one night at Dexter's Winter Park, with the exceptions of my generation.
Of course.
Because they had a pretty big setup.
Sure.
And we didn't have the stage, and we had a PA there, but we didn't have the setup we have now.
Right, sure.
So they had a big setup. They would bring scaffolding in. They would hang a curtain behind it. They had lights and everything, and that was a big deal. So they were expensive, and they didn't want to set that up just for one night. So they asked me for 2 nights. So I said, okay, fine. We actually have Skin Deep coming
soon,
August 26th. They've got 2 nights, Friday and Saturday.
That is so. You've seen them, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're gonna.
I mean.
Yeah.
They're amazing straight across the board.
Yeah.
Like they've been on the scene. This is I think they are ending their 33rd year and going into their 34th.
I used to hire Skin Deep before, I believe, Lee Seiler, before Lee Seiler got involved with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they were okay. But with this new configuration, they're just blasting it through the roof.
And the new configuration, I think, is now significantly entrenched. Like,
yeah.
I don't think there's any... The newest member in the band is Steve Lapine on guitar.
Right.
And he is absolutely amazing, which shouldn't shock anybody because you can't walk into a Crash Rocket, a Skin Deep, or whatever and be meh. Right? Like, the band is really good. You can't dumb down the band.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. But I think other than that guitar position that's moved, I think everybody in there has been in there a really long time. Lee, Giff, Jamie, Billy. I don't think any of those guys are recent.
Yeah.
But I don't actually know. I didn't even know Lee wasn't the original drummer.
I don't know. I don't think he was. I think it was. I can't remember the other guy's name. But the band was good. But they're not the band they are now. I mean,
right.
they're phenomenal.
Right. Well, and 33 years in, you damn well better be.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you're gigging, 20 weekends a year. And it's 33 years in and you're not,
and you're still not getting
get out.
Yeah.
It's all done, right?
Stop it.
So what's the next thing people should expect, right? So like you're starting to do some charity events. You're building up your nighttime band crowd, which seems to be going really, really well. What's next for Fredsters? What's the next step?
Well, I'm meeting the chef tomorrow to put more of a better summer menu together. We're going to improve our salad selections. We're going to use foods that are indigenous, that are running in abundance of good quality or in season, and we will make our menus according to what we can get. There have been some supply chain shortages.
Like everything else.
So I've created the ability to change my menu on any given day for the product that I can get. So if I can't get chicken wings or something, I'll buy chicken thighs or I'll buy breasts and make tenders, but we'll do the same dish with a different color.
I got you.
So we have the ability. We print our own menus. I have a nice printer in the back that I can do that. I've got food costing programs, and I can move very quickly with that, so that nobody will see any kind of gap in there.
And you are open on you're not open right now on Mondays.
We just started our summer hours. We're going to close on Sundays and Mondays.
And Mondays.
Yes.
Okay. But the other days you're open for lunch.
Yes.
Okay. I haven't been. Well, I think I've been there for lunch. But okay, so they've got a lunch menu. They've got a dinner menu. And all the bands coming in. There's no reason not to stop by.
There's no reason.
No reason at all.
That bar is warm and friendly. You can sit there and sit across from somebody else that you don't even know and spark up a conversation.
Yeah, I really do like the place. It's got it's interesting. It's got a modern feel, but a homey warm feel to it, which is partially the staff and the way that everybody handles themselves.
And then, of course, you've been there on the band nights when it's,
I've seen Harlequin.
Arses and elbows.
Yeah, I've seen Fireside Duo. I've seen Harlequin over there. I saw Soul Function over there. I saw Barfly over there.
Have you seen Dave Schweitzer in Hotel Mars yet?
I have not.
Life on Mars.
Life on Mars. Is that what it's called? Life on Mars.
It used to be called Hotel Mars, but okay.
When are they back?
No, I think next month we've got the Ultimate Rush tribute band on that Wednesday night.
Oh, yeah.
But they're going to be the first Wednesday every month. And,
All right.
And I request that you come down.
I will absolutely check it
watch
out.
them because he's marvelous.
I will absolutely check it out.
He's not your typical in your face guy. He's got one of those old Radio City microphones.
The Shore 55.
Yeah, the big stainless steel thing.
Sure. Yep, Lizzie Salica uses
and
that
on
one
certain
too.
songs, his voice used to be in that sort of old, and he's not in your face, but he's just so tasty. He just gets it right. He does a little bit of David Bowie. He does some old the other band, the band from England. Oh my God,
That narrows it down a lot.
Yeah, right. Squeeze.
Oh yeah,
does a lot of
sure.
Squeeze and stuff like that.
I'll have to check him out.
And he doesn't play it note for note. He puts his own little spin on
Sure.
it. And it's really interesting. David Bowie's, Here I Am Sitting in My Tin Can. With his vocals on that are just wonderful.
And before
it moves you.
I can tell you like him a lot. Before I let you go, there is this debate came up again last night online. And by the way, I never chime in on these debates. Not only does nobody care what my opinion is, there's no reason for me to jump in and say it. So the question was, somebody posted a thing and said, hey, if a 4-piece band comes in and plays a gig, and the bar says, we're going to pay you guys $500, and a 3-piece band goes in and plays the gig, should it be the same $500?
Well, right now our algorithm is $100 a band.
And we're going to talk about that in a minute, but pretend you're back on the Dexter's track and everything's fine, right? Everything's profitable, it's doing what it's supposed to do.
Right.
Is it about the band you're booking, or is it still the $100 a man formula, even if the bar is back to full success?
That is just the baseline, and I want to, both my partner Fred and I want to go way north of that, and we can do that once we've got our customer base established. We did that over at 558 in Winter Park. As soon as I developed a relationship with the band, a history with the band, I keep all my numbers, I look at all the sales and everything, what they do. I write down, it was raining, so that's why they didn't have that great a night. Or there was somebody playing at the arena, which is why they didn't have that great a night. I take all that into account.
Okay.
It's a whole algorithm to make for a successful evening for everybody.
Okay, and so it's really not about the $100 a man formula.
Well,
It's about the.
right now
I know it is
just
now.
getting started out.
No. Okay, so let me rephrase. I'm not asking this question as the owner of Fredsters. I'm saying there's this ongoing debate in the music community where they're like, hey, we were making $100 a man 20 years ago, right? And a lot of venues, by the way, that are even, they're not new, and they're doing okay, and they've been around, will still say to the bands, we're $100 a man. And so there's a lot of musicians who say like, well, that's too low. But besides that, and I think it's a valid question, is they'll say, well, okay, so under that theory, I bring in my trio. I fill the place to the roof. We have a great night. We put on a top-notch show. We're 300, but this other band that is half of what we do is 400 because they brought another body. And so if I'm understanding your answer right, it is not a $100 a man formula when the bar is up and running. It's more of a, how did the synergy between the band and the bar work?
Right.
And if the band is bringing in a lot of people and the bar is making money, doesn't matter if it's 3-piece, 10-piece, or 4-piece, the numbers are going to line up.
But again, just in an addendum to that, if a 3-piece comes in and brings a ton of people and a good crowd and we have a great night of business, I'll cut them an extra check. I'll just do that.
I got you.
I'll share it.
Right. And I think everybody understands
The
that.
Redcoats came to play. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The Redcoats came to play last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Did a phenomenal job. We got overbooked.
That's great.
We were spilling out into the patio and into the parking lot. Oh, by the way, we've got 252 parking spaces.
Right. It's a lot of parking.
That's big enough to do some really fun events over there.
It is indeed.
So, it's the band.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
Oh, I know, but so they filled it. Redcoats filled it up.
That Batman fire truck.
Oh, my fire truck. Oh, there's room. We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen.
That's great. But and he said, so he called the next day. He said, was it a profitable evening? I said, yes, no problem. And then the next time he plays, his fees are going much.
I got you. So you guys, as a growing business, when the business is where it needs to be, it is not $100.
I'll share it. I'll share it. If they're bringing it on and rocking it out, we're paying for it.
Yeah, and again, the other reason I was anxious to have a club owner on the show is you guys probably don't know a lot of these bands, and I know that club owners get inundated all day with "you should book my band,"
Yes.
"you should book my duo," "you should book my trio," and I thought it would also be good for you to see, okay, well here's the bands on the crawl, and I can at least tell you a little bit about them and give you a jump off point for research, because it is hard to know who's going to do a good job and who's not.
Right.
You know, and sometimes the Facebook or Instagram doesn't tell the story.
Right.
I know acts that only have 300-400 followers on their Facebook, but they do pack a crowd. Their crowd just isn't on Facebook.
Really?
And I know bands that have 4,000 on their Facebook that they're probably not bringing anybody, because there are bands that keep your crowd, and there are bands that bring a crowd. And in my personal opinion, the win is to be the hybrid of the two.
Right.
The win is, so your venue, to say there's 100 people inside, you've got 30 or 40 at this point that come out on music nights that are yours. If you bring 30 and I bring 30, we're at 2/3 capacity. That's a good night. You know what I mean? So I think the hybrid is the two, but it's very hard to know looking at a band and vice versa, looking at a venue. I don't know if my band's walking into a place that if I don't bring them, nobody's going to be there. Vice versa.
All you can do is develop a history.
Right.
Write the numbers down, write what's happening that day, what the weather is, what band's playing elsewhere, and just pick and choose and figure out what you're going to do. All the information is there, just use it.
Yeah, and before I let you go, and it's not even a question for you, but the reason I am so interested in Fredsters and trying to support Fredsters is, you may not even remember anymore, but when Midnight Mayhem opened, which was almost 9 years ago now, we had not played a gig yet. We were in new band land where we hadn't played anything yet.
I know what you're saying.
And I came into Dexter's Winter Park a couple times and tried to book, and I finally got your attention, and I said, hey, look, book the band, and if you don't like us, it's on the house. We're going to do a good job.
Well, but you also made a very compelling argument as to why I should hire you.
Yes, I tried to do that.
Yeah.
And so you booked us.
Yeah.
And then I think we did a good job, and you routinely had us back there.
You did.
So when you opened the new venue, I was very much like, okay, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be a good place to play. And I think it is a great place to play in an awesome venue. I'm hoping more and more people come and check it out. You've got a killer weekend this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
You have a killer weekend every weekend.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that because I happen to be there on Friday night.
It's paying the bills.
But you know what? You've got a killer weekend this weekend. You've got some great bands on the lineup. I think there's some bands in that band crawl that would be great for you, that you should connect with for sure. And I hope everybody watching this is going to stop by and check out Fredsters. Feel free to do it Friday while we're filming our corporate demo. But check it out anytime. It's always great. And I'm wishing you nothing but success on it, and hopefully we'll have you back on.
Thank you, David.
Awesome. Thanks for doing it.
You betcha.